What's up?
Yo, 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 what up, homie?
Nothing. How's the drive?
The drive sucks camel balls. How's that?
Gosh, how long you been going so far?
The Hamptons to Rockland County, where I am right now, is about 2.5 hours. But driving from Annapolis to the Hamptons was 7 hours. Man, I don't even want to think about it. It's been so much driving.
Do you drive this like is this like a weekly thing, a monthly thing, or what?
Well, I go up and down. It depends on honestly, it depends on when it was my son's football schedule. It was depending on his football schedule. But right now, I'm doing a lot of business up in Southampton Beach, so
Right.
it is what it is, man. And they're in the, I see them as much as I can. The good thing is they're so busy, man. They're both busy with
Yeah.
after school activities and acting and
Yeah.
sports and all that stuff. So it is what it is.
Yeah. That's a lot of driving, man. God.
Sorry, man. I,
Ooh.
I, I Joe Rogan it, man. I listen to all his podcasts. I drive and I get educated.
There you go. All right. So what are we going to talk about today?
All right, so we got updates.
Ronnie.
Obviously, we got Ronnie's court case. We got updates of all the pictures leading up to the Arnold. Let's see, and we also have that new
IFBB
rule that
card.
came out.
Yeah.
I got some info. I got some inside info on that one.
It confused so many people, and everybody was so many people made videos, and it confused a lot of people. So go ahead, Keon. Let's hear what you got.
All right, so I obviously you look at it and instantly you think to yourself, okay, this must be a money grab. And I hope that Manions don't get mad at me. Weinberger doesn't get mad at me. I'm just being honest.
Right.
Initially it looked like a money grab because you're talking about 20,000 IFBB pros, at $300 a pop. That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
But the part that I didn't like, the part that I'm sure many people didn't like, is the fact that how can you take away someone's pro status after they've earned their pro card? Now,
Yeah.
you and I have had this conversation 1,000 times before. I think them handing out 200 pro cards at the Team Universe, I think that's a bunch of horse shit.
Well, I mean, we could both agree on the pro card lost its value years ago.
Many years ago.
Many
Correct.
years ago. When you were coming up, especially when you were coming up, what was it? Five cards a year, King?
The North American overall, the USA overall, and class winners at the Nationals.
Okay, and so when I was coming up, it was like around, I think, like 10 maybe cards a year. So it was hard. And everybody knew who everybody was, and the card meant something. And then when the men's physique rolled out, the bikini rolled out, and all these other classes rolled out, and all these cards got just thrown everywhere. And it's funny because a lot of shows, bodybuilders couldn't get their pro cards at certain shows, like the juniors, but everybody other classes could, bikini, men's physique, whatever. But bodybuilders couldn't. So they made it harder for the bodybuilders. But, you're giving out pro cards to people that didn't have pro level physiques. All right. So I know when I was competing, I was like, okay, when I turn pro, I want to be able to step on that stage. I don't want to just get that card and all that. So when I talked with Muscle Tech and all that when I was younger, and they're trying to push me to and with Diamond Ties too, I'm like, I'm okay with waiting and all that. And the year I was supposed to, when all that junk happened, when when Hadi and all that, and the judges and the criminal charge, all that stuff we talked about before didn't happen, and it is what it was. So it was devastating. And so, but now it's just like, I'm a pro. You go into a gym and everybody's a pro. You're like used to. It's like who a pro was by what they looked like or the name. Who's that? It's everybody's. Let's go. I know I'm blabbly. Go on Instagram and type in IFBB, and how many names will pop up after that? Thousands. thousands
Yeah,
and thousands
yeah.
and thousands and thousands.
Last, you're gonna love this. Last night, I was at a town hall meeting. I was speaking on behalf of one of my good friends who owns an indoor amusement park in the Hamptons. He's worked 20 years on this place. He spent $70 million making this place. And it's first. I mean, it is off the charts, unbelievable. Indoor surfing, golf course, indoor golf course. I mean, you name it. It looks like something straight out of Dubai. And they're giving him a hard time because he puts a professional go-kart track in the back. And so anyway, long story short, there was about 100 people there talking in his behalf. And there was 3 Karen lesbian liberal assholes. You know, they were sitting there with, like it literally sounded like CNN, trying to talk shit, and it was horrible. Anyway, so I was one of the last people to speak. So I got up there and I spoke for him, and then at the end I said something about Trump, and the whole place stood up and started clapping. Why am I saying this story is because afterwards the owner Eric, we went to Scott's Point, which is what it's called, for like the after party for this place. And he walked up and pulled me aside, and he's laughing. I'm like, what's up? He goes, first of all, he gave me a hug. He goes, thank you for what you did. You're an amazing person. I love you, King. I'm like, no problem. And he goes, the funniest part was when you were out there speaking, because when I first walked up there, I said, my name is King Kamali. And for people who don't know me, it sounds very,
yeah,
is he royalty or something?
Yeah,
so,
right.
And he goes, afterwards, he had 3 people come, and 2 of them were cops. They're like, how the fuck do you know King Kamali? He goes, why? He goes, do you know who that guy is? Do you know what he's done? Do you know who he is in the sport? And Erica's like, he's just my friend. He's a big guy. He's just my friend. But he's like, now I'm starting to figure out who you are. I'm like, and that's exactly what we're talking about right now. When you were a pro, you were a star. It was Chris Cormier's year. We all knew who Chris Cormier was as an amateur. We all knew who Flex Wheeler was. We all knew who Kevin Levrone was. We all knew you were a star. Now, I will give you $10,000 if you tell me who was the class winners of the Nationals last year. Impossible.
Yep.
No way you could
no
tell
idea.
Me because
no clue.
No
clue at all.
Anyway, so so here's my thing on it. So I called one IFBB official, which I'll keep. He wants to remain anonymous, and he told me his explanation. And I also called Dennis James, and I said, Dennis, you have a podcast. You work for Flex Online. You got this. Are you giving your $300? And he said, King, and he stopped me right there. He goes, King, let me tell you this right now. This has nothing to do with you, me, Jay Cutler, Flex Wheeler, all retired. It has to do with the current active bodybuilders, because what's happening right now is this is what he told me. They're getting their pro cards, never competing, and just using the IFBB Pro before their names to sell diets online or to get clients on it. He goes, that's who they were. They don't give a shit about you and you not being active. That's not. You are King Kamali. You're the national champion. You did what you had to do. You're an IFBB Pro. Has nothing to do with you. And I said, so Dennis, you're gonna say that on your podcast? He goes, 100,000%. I'm going there right now to say it. I'm like, okay, then I believe you. Done.
Right, because I mean, so many people use that, I'm a pro. So they're like, okay, oh my gosh, that person's a professional, so they must know. And it was funny, because Dave Palumbo, obviously, he never got his pro card, and he was, everybody knows who Dave Palumbo is in the industry. He was a freak, and he had that little back and forth with Mark, whatever, Jackass, Bliner, or whatever, and he was trying to say, yeah, Mark Jackass Bliner or whatever, he was trying to say like, well, I got my pro card at Dave. Like, dude, shut up! Like, just shut up. You're like 200 pounds and like with little arms, like you're a little pipsqueak. Shut up. And so people have used these cards, and he's a pro, so okay, I must hire this person. So they have abused. But I mean, the IFBB did this. They gave all these cards out. They did all this. They created this mess. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. But It doesn't have anything to do with the old school OGs, so it is.
Right.
But I mean, I understand it from a. I've said this to you, and you and I have discussed this. Handing out all these pro cards, it's great for the NPC.
Right.
Absolutely, the promoters are making money, and you know me, Armon, and I are 100% for the promoters making money. As a matter of fact, me and Armon, I haven't spoken to Armon about this, but it's in my head. It's a seed that's been planted in my head. We might be putting on our own show soon. All right, we might be doing our own thing in Texas and in New York. So prepare for that, people. That's something that's going to be coming. But the promoters are making a ton of money, and that's great. But you're absolutely right, Armon. They did it to themselves.
Yeah, and we're both friends with promoters, and so we understand, how it it benefits them. And a lot of these like smaller shows, when people don't show up, like Johnny Jackson, like I'm good friends with Johnny Jackson, but for some reason, the show's not promoted right every year, so not many people shows up to the show, and it's a shame because it's a good show. Johnny's a great guy, and it's put on really well, but it's all about promoting the show. So sometimes, several years ago, a lot of people and promoters were losing money because people just weren't showing up. And, now, I am happy for all my promoter friends that has shows and that are making money. And, I'm really happy for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the 411 on that, fellas. That's the 411 on that.
All right, so yeah, so everybody out there, everybody's had their opinion, and they had to clarify it again. So you saw, I guess, Tyler made another statement because people were so confused. They thought they were going to lose their status. They're like, no, you if you keep paying, you will keep your status. You just have to keep paying for it, right? So people thought like, oh, they just automatically lose it. So they had to make that clarification because a lot of people. It left the door open for people to not really understand what they were saying, and a lot of people. I read several posts that were like this long and really heartfelt. Like, I've killed myself for 10 years to. I went through this one girl's post. She lives here. I've killed myself for 10 years to this to my body and this to my body and then this and So a lot of people are emotional, and I get things. Times change. Things change. We have to, we'll see. Things are very different now, and it is what it is, and we have to roll with it. And we still love bodybuilding, but things are different, and it's evolved.
Absolutely, man. Well, that was good. They needed to clarify it because I was one of the confused people. Me right here.
Yeah.
I was one of those people, but not everybody has access to IFBB judges and the hierarchy and Dennis James and Bob Chick. I do. So for me, it was a lot easier to get the answers, but I'm glad that Tyler came out and said what he said.
Yeah. I know. So good for Ronnie. Somehow I never realized how loaded he is. LOL. Doesn't get off the rich vibe like Jay or Libra Labrada. Of course. Ronnie Coleman. Of course, he has money. He's 8-time Mr. Olympia.
Right.
But he I grew up with Ronnie here in Arlington, so I saw Ronnie. He just recently sold his house. I think 2 years ago. That and it was just a normal middle class house in Arlington. Nothing special. Ronnie's not one of these materialistic persons that needs all this. Could he go buy a mansion? Yeah. Could he go buy? He had the cars. He had all that. He's just he's a humble guy. He's a humble guy. He's not one of these guys that portray themselves to be rich, and they're not, like a lot of these guys today that like man, this one Mitzvah guy, he's driving a Lambo with this. I'm like, bro, that guy doesn't have any money. He's rented that car. It's all fake. He's a 30K millionaire. It's a facade. So people's got to understand. People with money.
I could go get a Lambo too. So could Armon. But that doesn't make any sense at this point.
No.
Okay. You got to live. You have to live in a common sense world. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't. And it's all because of this bullshit they see on social media. And what happens is they're living in this fake world. I say this all the time. Thank God that my daughter and my son, I taught them correctly. I'm sure you're doing the same thing. That's fake. Social media, those Instagram, that's all fake. People don't have those lives. Believe me, they're just as miserable as you are. So it is what it is. But I'm happy for it too. But Ronnie, one asterisk next to Ronnie, he loves his cars. He loves his cars.
Yeah,
He's got the same disease I do. I love cars.
Yeah, he won what? He won, was it one Hummer or two Hummers? How many did he win? Two Hummers?
I'm not sure. I know he won one. I'm not sure about the second.
Yeah, I know he won one, and then I think he sold it. But yeah, Ronnie. I mean, Ronnie's always been humble. I mean, he's always, giving props to everybody.
I know Ronnie's story, Armon. It's a 100% fact. Flex Wheeler was at a point. I don't want to put his business out there, but I think it's known. He was in a bad place for a little while, and Ronnie gave him one of his cars. That's a true story, and I'm sure you heard it. You're in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, Ronnie's closest friends with him. The people, if you guys watched Ronnie's videos, Gus Carter, Lee, I'm really close with those guys. Those are Ronnie's best friends. And Ronnie is the one that made it over the years out of all of them. Ulysses, all of them. And Ronnie's helped them out a lot. And, they're all boys and stuff, but it'd be funny because they would get arguments and stuff like that. And Ronnie has a very, very kind heart. Ronnie was sponsoring this guy before. I'll tell the story just because it's a story. Ronnie was sponsoring this guy before, and Ronnie had me prepping him. So I was like, yeah, Ronnie, I'll prep him, whatever. He was with your company. So this guy, Ronnie, was paying for all of his gear, getting his gear for him, he had him on with Ronnie Coleman Signature Series and all that good stuff. I was prepping him for nationals, and I said, bro, I don't expect any money. You have a bunch of kids. This guy, he was one of these preachers that were, these fake preachers that was doing it to, get money and doing it for the wrong reasons. And so he scammed a lot of people in Arlington. I remember before he moved back to Vegas, he was telling everybody, hey, I'm doing a unlimited year training or prep or something like that for only $200 or $300, and he got everybody's money and he kept it. And then I remember when I was prepping him, one of my friends was fronting him stuff, and I'm like, listen, I would not front him stuff. You're not going to get it back. And he fronted him like $6 or $7 grand of stuff, never got it back. And then when he got his pro card, he was like, the Ambassador Development was interviewing him at one show, and it was like, who would you like to thank? Who helped you do this? He's like, oh, well, I did this by myself. And I'm like, wow, okay. And so, I mean, that really hurt. I was in his room, everything, holding his hand and everything. And then, another thing, when we were shooting the documentary for Strangeland, it was a documentary that I was in with Ronnie Coleman and Branch Warren, and he told me the wrong time to come because he was already in it because he was friends with Ronnie. He's like, hey, show up at this time. Maybe we could get you in the documentary too. And so I showed up 4 hours earlier because I was shooting with another website, mostmuscular.com. And I'm glad I did. And they saw me and they were like, hey, do you want to be in the documentary? And I ended up being in the documentary, and I had more screen time than him. So that just goes to show you, when you try to screw over people like that, and he basically disappeared. And Ronnie treated that guy so good. And people kept telling him, Ronnie, Corey's using you. He's using you. But Ronnie just has such a big heart. He helped them until, he realized when he left, and he left.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone through a situation like that. I'm sure you've gone through a situation like that. I've helped, I'm not going to bring up names, but I've helped some people turn professional, and immediately afterwards they thanked the company that's been sponsoring them and stuff. And I would get 100 text messages saying, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. You did everything for this person. I'm like, I don't care. It's okay. Yeah. Because karma is a motherfucker. I really, truly believe in karma.
I mean, most of those people, Key, like we said, we've dealt with our fair share because, I mean, we don't only coach for the money. I've coached a lot of people for free too, friends and other people that maybe couldn't afford it at the time. I was like, just get me back down the road, or if I need this done, or if I need my TV, whatever. TV hung up, help me out. whatever. Just, pass it on, pass a good deed along, because I want to see you do well. You have what it takes. And then, it hurts when they just shit on you and they act like like, yeah, I just did this by myself. And you were literally telling them what to do to the T, and we've both dealt with it. And it's just part of a narcissistic industry that we're in.
Yeah, but you're friends with me, brother, and I'm gonna teach you the lint mentality. You know what the lint mentality is? This lint. That's it. I don't give people second chances. Done. One time.
No.
Get the fuck out of my life. I don't need you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on. And they'll come back and they'll come back. I got another one who did that. I gave this person several chances, this girl several chances, and each time, same shit. So finally I said, see ya. I'll ruin you. I'll tell you, go for it. You know what? She's a prostitute now. She is a 100%. I'm not fucking with you. I'm not using that word just to get back at her. She's a prostitute now.
Yeah.
Karma, baby. Karma.
When you're coaching, we've met some crazy individuals, that, we could have stories for days. I like this, one girl, I remember, she kept making moves, advances towards me, and I turned her down. And then she started telling people, Armon's trying to sleep with me. And then everybody was like, yeah, Armon sleeps with all his clients. I'm like, name one of my clients I've ever slept with. And the girls were like, well, we just heard. I'm like, name one person. I don't sleep with my clients. I'm a professional. I don't do that. And so, people get angry. People are just nasty, and they're out for themselves. And, they use people. And yeah, that's like you said, I used to give people second chances a lot. Even some of my closest friends, when you realize, like, hey, they want to start prepping for a show again, but man, I haven't heard from you for a while. But when you want to start prepping for a show again, then you start getting the texts and the calls and all that stuff, and then you find out who your real friends are. So yeah, just like King said,
lint and patience is a virtue. My ex is FaceTiming me. She's FaceTimed me 4 times in the past 2 weeks. Guess what? Not picking up. Not gonna pick up. Not a fucking chance in hell. No. Adios, muchachos. There's a billion of you out there. There's a billion better than you out there. So adios. Anyway, enough of that. So have you been watching the countdown pictures? Samson looks good, man. He is down. Waist is thin. His abs are out. He's going to be better at this show than he was when he won the Olympia. So it looks interesting. Looks very interesting.
Looks good. What are you thinking about Derek? I watched the podcast the other day. It was him. He was on with Nick Walker and Chris Aceto and I think Guy Cisternino, and they think they got things figured out. But I don't know. What do you think about Derek?
I think this, and this is not me thinking it. This is what I've seen over and over again for 35, 36 years. We've seen Derek at his all-time best when he beat Hadi for the Olympia, okay? He still had problems through here, and he still had problems through here, and he still had a bad ab shot. What the fuck is Chris Cormier and Chris Aceto going to do to fix that when we've already seen him at his best? That's my response to that. Can he be a little bit sharper? Yes. Can his posing be a little bit more improved? Yes. But the structural base, the foundation is still there.
Mm-hmm.
What else is he going to do? He's going to double up on the Arimidex? He's going to double up on the fucking Bumex the night before and Milos protocol. We're going to pull out the insulin. Okay, you can do all those magical things. He's still going to be let's say he's better than he was when he beat the Hadi at the Olympia. He's still going to be 0.5%, 1% at the max.
I mean, the leg issue, they were trying to say kind of like Hadi was kind of overtraining him in the leg department, and that's why his legs, because he has crazy quads. You see him when he's guest posing leading up to the show in Olympia. We're like, what happened to his quads? And Chris Cormier's like, oh, we fixed it. Chris Aceto, we fixed it. I mean, but we'll see. If he shows up,
time out. Please, my OG brother, explain to these people when you pull the water, it's a different look than when you're puffed up. When you're pumped
Yeah.
up, yes, you're walking around. Fuck, I used to walk around at 308 pounds. I used to put Vaseline on my inner thighs where they would get chafed up from walking around, right?
Yeah.
When you pull the water, some people keep that fullness, some people flatten out. Most people flatten out. So we'll see.
And that's what most people got to understand out there, especially when competitors, they do a show and they're like, man, I'm losing so much size. I'm like, listen, you don't have that much tissue on your body. When someone diets for a show, I'm like, it's so, like I tell people, it's always good to do. It's good to do at least one show, because when you diet down, you think you're all big and all huge. And when you diet down, I know when I did my first show and I was 240 and then I weighed 176 at 18 years old. And I'm like, okay, this is how big I really am. So people don't understand once you get all that fat and all that water off, what's left, that muscle tissue. If you've done your homework and dieted right, because a lot of people burn muscle on the diet if they're not, if they don't have a good coach or they're doing it themselves. You see what's really there. And it's yeah, like you said, when you're full, like Derek is, guest posing, not having to show the glutes off, not having to have certain lines there. Yeah, you look freaky, but on that stage, it's a different story.
Right. Plus, it also matters who you're standing next to.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So if your legs are a little bit flat and you're standing next to big Ramy, which is another thing we got to talk about, your legs are gonna look a little bit smaller, okay, than they actually are. So it all very much depends on who you're standing next to. You could be in fantastic condition, stand next to Hadi Chupon, and you look like you're a little off. That's what Dexter's kryptonite was. Dexter was kryptonite to all these supermen. You know why? Because he was grainy. Everybody else was separated. Dexter was grainy, and he made everyone look a little bit off.
What you got on Big Ramy lately? Coming back?
Well, rumors are listen, he's once you win the Olympia, you can always come back and do the Olympia. That's the rule. That's the IFBB rule. So he doesn't have to requalify. And there are rumors spreading in the bodybuilding world that he wants to hop back on the Olympia stage. It's great for Dan Solomon and Jake Wood. That is, people would love to see that.
Oh,
only and only if Ramy keeps under cover. Don't let if I was him and I was going to do this, I wouldn't post a picture of my pinky. I would just wait, and the anticipation will be insane to see what he looks like.
That last time when he said, because a lot of people were saying, like he can never come back and win Mr. Olympia. And he was like, I don't really care. If I want to do this, I want to do this. And if I get fifth place, I get fifth place, or whatever the case may be. Of course he wants to win the Olympia, but he was saying he's coming back. It's going to be for himself. It's not for, if he doesn't win the championship or win the Olympia or whatever. So, we'll see. It would be great to see him back. That's going to bring a lot more excitement because it's Big Ramy. Who doesn't want to see him?
Yeah.
But he's got all those issues. But with the back and the quads, and but who cares? He's still Big Ramy. It's impressive. We'd like to see him.
We shall see. One guy that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing is Carlos. I like his. Listen, I love the mass monsters, but when the mass monster has shape, you got it. That's my thing right there, man. I hope. I don't think he's gonna do it. The conditioning has always been a little off for him, but I hope he brings in the conditioning to stand up there and let people think, okay, wow, here we go. We have somebody else in the mix. That's what this show could be that for him. The launching pad of not winning, but somebody else now we can add to the mix.
Yeah, he's a freak, but I think I don't see him bringing in that conditioning that's going to need to be there to do the job. I just don't.
I'll tell you something right now though. If he's listening right now, I don't help professional bodybuilders. I don't like helping professional bodybuilders. I like helping amateurs, and I like the transformations. I like to get a train wreck and turn something into a diamond out of a train wreck. But if I was him, I'd be doing old school prep. 2 hours of fucking cardio, 50 grams of carbs. I'm talking about old school, just monster death, eyes rolling back in the back of your head, that type of stuff to get into fucking conditioning, because this could be a launching pad. So Carlos, do your thing, man. Bring it grainy.
Yeah. Gotta suffer. Hey, did you see Keon Pearson say, you know, his statement was, you know, he could beat Lee Priest, like he would, like there was no comparison.
I didn't see it, but Keon, please don't talk like that.
Yeah.
Okay, please, yeah, please don't say things like that. Okay, you look great, and I believe I'm one of those guys. Cormier says it, Dexter said it, that overall, top to bottom, you could be the best bodybuilder. If it was just judged on pure aesthetics and conditioning, everything into one, you could be the best in the planet right now. But you got to also understand, if you go into the open class, you're going to get out muscled, brother. And talking to yourself and talking about Lee Priest. Lee Priest was it was a comic book character. You don't know what he looked like. I know what he looked like. I beat Lee Priest at the Iron Man. I beat Lee Priest at the Arnold Classic. I know what it's like to stand next to little comic book characters. Don't say that, man. Please don't say that. And I'm a fan of yours.
Yeah, and also, you know, I was saying, like, I mean, I'm sure Keon is taking literally 10 times the amount Lee Priest took, because Lee was very conservative, you know. And I talked to Lee last week. He wants to come on, I think next week or the week after, and
Excellent.
And shoot the shit with us. So, what else, King?
Let's see. All right, you want the Ronnie thing, the court case?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You talk about that one.
All right, so basically, Ronnie had this lawsuit coming on. It's a verdict for RCBA in fraud case. Let's see, he got awarded $15.5 million in damages, and then he also $5 million for his attorney fees. So, but pretty much the packaging, you know, Western outsourced production packaging was defective, and there were leaked protein powder causing significant financial harm. So basically, it sounds like all the products were being shipped out, and you know, people were getting their supplements in. It was all, you know, leaked out protein everywhere and stuff like that. And the deal with Ronnie is he does it. He's the face of the company. Ronnie's not involved with anything with that at all. You know, when back in 2011, when I think I didn't have a sponsor at that time, and he was wanting to get me on. He was like, "Yeah, contact the people in Florida. They deal with everything." So he does. I mean, he makes the appearances, but he has nothing to do with formulations, what's going on. I mean, he's just, you know, Ronnie. And so, yeah. So I basically, that's a lot of money. So I guess a lot of people were getting a lot of leaked packages.
Yeah. That's it. Actually, this is a good thing for us to talk about, to teach these kids to, because a lot of these companies are manufactured in the same place. Mm-hmm. Explain that to them, Armon, so they understand. And what happens is, when Armon's going to get into details with that, but really quick, let's say King Kamali wants a protein. I will go to this manufacturer, this big manufacturer who does protein for a lot of companies, and I'll be like, okay, I like this company's protein, make it a little bit creamier and add a little bit of this. So it's not like they're starting all over again. No, they're all pretty much the same with a little bit of difference, and that's how the industry works. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I had a passion to start my own nutrition company years ago. Okay. So after I was with Dymatize, I was they were based here in Dallas. So I got to know everybody there. I was friends with people in the manufacturing. I was literally back there in the white coats, watching them make the stuff, sampling the stuff. We were really close knit there. I was their only sponsored athlete. They had Craig Titus before me. They had me, and I was stupid. I left to go to Muscle Tech, and then when I left, they brought in Andy Hammond, and then they eventually sold to Post Cereal. But the Dymatize was awesome, and then I was with other companies after them, and I was like, man, you know, I don't like saying, like, yes, this is the best stuff ever. Use my code and do this and this, when I don't believe in a product. And that's what I had an issue with. And so I'm like, you know, I want to do my own product line. And for years, I got a hold of different manufacturers, And there was always an issue. Either they wanted an insane amount of money up front. I'm talking about 100K, 200K. And at that time, I didn't have that money. And then you would, the same thing would, basically, there's several huge manufacturers that manufacture for basically the top 20 or 30 lines. And basically, all the products are the same. It's just a different label on every product. And if you contact a lot of these companies, they'll be like, okay, they'll send you a list and like, hey, this is what we have. Like, no, I want to make my own formulation. So I was lucky enough about 8-9 years ago, I had a client. His best friend was a manufacturer in the Houston area. He linked me up with him. Amazing guy. So I did my first product 8 years ago. It was a pump product. And then we made more products on that line, the DV Army line. And then I had that for 8 years. And then I just created a new line, the AMG Labs, which we're still in the process of the website and everything. And they were able to do stuff that I was like, hey, this is what I want in here. Can you do it? And he would be like, yes. Or he would be like, well, if we do this, and try to not use, any filler at all, it's going to clump up. So I remember I made a couple of batches and it was literally like concrete. He just like, I just want to do it to see if it works. And then he sent it to me. I was like, yeah, the money's lost. It is what it is. So he's a great guy. And it's funny because Dennis Wolf tried to launch his company years ago. And he ran into a lot of shady people in the industry and got his money taken. And he actually just found my manufacturer this past year, and they're manufacturing his supplements now. And a lot of times people ask, what is your manufacturer? And I'm like, I don't give that out. That's my manufacturer. That's
right.
Who does my stuff. When
Right.
you want to create your supplements, you're going to all these other people and they give you a list. It's like, this is what a pre-workout is. It's $7 and this is what's in it. And they won't add anything to it. This is what you get. They might have a couple different ones you can choose from. And so what I did with my line is to create the product, it costs more money than, let's say, Redcon one's pre-workout maybe costs $7 to make it. For me, mine's around like, $18 or $20 or something like that, because I want it a certain way. And I'm not one of these guys that my goal is to not have it in all. I don't want it in all the stores. I don't want it all in Walmart and all that stuff. Like a lot of people like dream is to have it. There's supplements everywhere. I kind of like Dave's business model where it's a smaller company. You get what you sell like directly from your site. That's your profit. It's not going through. People's got to understand nutrition stores. They want to buy the cheapest product.
Yes.
They make the most money on. So if you're a kid and you go into a GNC or vitamin shop and, hey, I'm looking for a great pre-workout, are they going to show you? They're going to show you the product they're going to make the most money from. And I get it. It's a business. So, that's why I've tried to sell in stores and stuff like that. It's just not my thing. And that's why I'm so passionate in it about making supplements. Now, of course I coach, but my supplement, I wouldn't say it's a side thing, but it's in the making for the new line. We're putting a lot into it. And it took literally 2 years to launch everything. And we got a couple more supplements coming out. So yeah.
Yes,
that's
sir. And that's right. Everything he just said is correct. Everything is on point. All right.
What
Now
else,
let's get to
King?
the questions, man. Let's get to the questions, man. The fans love the questions.
Let's see. King, any good Titus stories?
Titus stories. Yeah, every time we went to a new place to compete, all of us used to call in the promoters and say, hey, make sure my Winnie's ready, make sure my Primo's ready, make sure my Arimidex is there, especially if we're traveling international. Titus, rumor had it, would call and say, make sure my Ecstasy's ready, make sure my Coke is ready, make sure my ketamine is ready. So there's a Titus story for you right there.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. What were your main bulking foods, King?
Steak and rice.
There you go. Me too.
Steak and white rice. End
Doing good, brother.
Discussion.
Boring. Yeah, it's boring, but it's food. All right, that's all the questions so far. But yeah, I mean, there's not some special, like you're saying, these coaches. I mean, you just got to eat. You just got to put away the food. And mine was like steak and rice, steak and potato. And I don't know about you, but once I got a little older, the steak became a little harder to digest. And so I hate chicken. Did you eat much chicken on your diet, King?
I did it because it was embedded in my head that it was a part of bodybuilding. You know, just like it was embedded in my head that tuna at the beginning of my career. Oh, you're a bodybuilder, you have to eat tuna. It's got to be tuna. Then I realized, no, I don't want my mercury levels going through the roof. I'll stick with this. I'll stick with that. Honestly, man, when it comes to chicken, we're Persian. Abpaz. All you Americans need to learn what abpaz means. Abpaz means it's called boiling and steaming your chicken at the same time, which it comes out so tender and so that chicken I can eat. And I've said this to you before, Armon. Anything burnt, anything grilled and burnt, I can eat.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, so people sent a lot of questions not on here also. I will go over those. Thoughts on arginine before bed? And, I mean, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Your opinion about Cali Muscle, Microsheet, and CT Fletcher?
That's your department, man. That's your department.
Cali Muscle,
did he have a heart attack?
Yeah, he had a heart attack, and then he went crazy with all the vegan stuff, and then the watermelon diet, and then he dyed his he got his eye color changed to green, and then he was doing that scam. He was doing that scam where he had like a SRT or a Scat Pack that he would do this raffle that he was giving away these cars, and he wasn't. He was just a buddy would come pick up the car and be like, he was scamming people on that, and then he would go to the store and he was literally telling people, "You see this bottle of water? It has 20 milligrams of sodium. You can't drink that. Sodium's horrible for you." I mean, the guy was losing his mind, and I'm not sure if he was doing it for the clicks or he was actually going crazy, but he lost all his muscle, so he literally lost everything he had, and he started using these weird filters that made him look like he was like melting everywhere. It was really strange.
Yeah, I saw that. So, I did see that.
Yeah. So I've talked to him a couple times. I think he came on RX Muscle once, and he was nice and cordial and all that. But, a lot of these guys, King, we're doing this podcast to get good information out here. If we wanted to get viral and a bunch of more views, we would talk about a lot of these goofballs that make no sense, like Wes Watsons and Cali Muscles and all these type of people that's trend. You got these things that are trending, and we'll talk about some here and there, and I'll be the one that brings them up because I see him on there. I know King doesn't like to pay attention to all that riffraff, and I totally understand. I don't like to either, but it's in my face all the time, especially when I'm on TikTok. It's hard to see those guys.
Hey man, look, you and I brought it up last week, and we said, listen, putting Sam Sulek. I don't know Sam. I don't hate him for making money and doing what I'm not going to repeat what I said last time, but putting him on a fucking poster with Ronnie, with Bumstead, and with Jay, that's just wrong. And we're the first.
Disrespectful.
That's disrespectful, and then we're the first person to come out and say it.
Yeah, very disrespectful. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. King, why do you recommend 81 aspirin?
Why do I recommend aspirin? Well, it was an old school recipe for fat burning, number one. Number two, it's good for your heart. It's a blood thinner. Number three, it brings the oxygen in and lets you rotate it faster in your body and helps you burn fat faster. A, B, and C.
There you go. Best supplement for sleep on the market. All right.
Right here. There's your supplement right there. One of these, crank it out. Or if you got a girl, one of these, give me 10 minutes of this, crank it out, and go to sleep. There's your sleep medication right there.
Shit. So I have insomnia. I literally sleep like 3 hours a night. It's miserable.
Oh, God.
I mean, I'm resistant to everything. I can literally take, 3 bars And it's before I even took medicine. Like I remember the first time I tried like, some pills and drink. I'm like, I really don't feel much. I just had a resistant from the beginning, whether it be my metabolism or whatever, to different stuff. So I could take whatever. There's strong. I made videos about it too. Like Ambien doesn't do anything for me. You got Trazodone, you got Seroquel. I'm talking about the hard stuff that they use for psych meds that to knock you out, like Seroquel and Mirazepam, which is Mirazepam is a really good compound for people that is it's a psych med also. It's kind of like Seroquel. It makes sure you at least get 8 hours of sleep, but it makes you very, very hungry. So I have some of my clients, I tell them, hey, go to your doctor, get them, they'll prescribe you Mirazepam. Most of them will, because it makes you hungry as shit. And so for sleep, everybody's different. You just got to play with different things. Some could drink a herbal tea and pass right out. I'm one of these people that I just have insomnia. I've done sleep studies and I have it all. I have restless leg syndrome, sleep apnea. I got the whole apnea machine, and then I kept getting pneumonia because it gets blowing, the air in there. And a lot of people get sick from that and can't do that. So the next option I've been meaning to do is we just got a new insurance. They'll make a device where I put in my mouth that like puts the tongue at a certain area. So the apnea. One of my best friends died, Chelsea. He was a part of the whole Ronnie crew. He died from sleep apnea. He was 5'5", and he would get to like 300 pounds in the off season. And
wow.
He died from sleep apnea. Do you have apnea?
No,
King?
man. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because you have all these things. I have none of them. I can pass out right now. I can close my eyes and fall asleep immediately.
Man.
You know how many flights I've missed at the airport? That's why I will not close my eyes. I'm at the airport anymore. I will fall asleep and wake up and I'll be like, what the fuck? Where did everybody go?
That's awful. That's happened to me almost a couple times before. I don't sleep. It's funny because when I go to my chiropractor, they do the whole decompression table at first where you get on there, and I fall asleep at all the places you're not to fall. And when I go there, I'm like, and I snore loud, and they just all kind of laugh there. But when I get in bed for some reason, I do not sleep well. Well, my son, he's 5. That little monster will not stay in his bed. He comes down 3 or 4 times a night. And I'm like, dude, you're killing us. I tell him, I'm like, Asher, do you want mommy and daddy to get sick? No. I'm like, well, you're making us sick. That's why we're sick all the time, because you're not getting sleep. We're not getting sleep. I'm like, do you want us to die young? No, daddy. I'm like, okay, stop coming down. Okay, I promise I won't. Next night he comes down again. So that's another issue. A couple more years, I'm sure he'll be fine. But
you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Are fitness YouTubers a joke to pros like you guys? I mean, we've talked about the influencers on our last podcast.
Absolutely, 100%. They're fucking.
So go check out our last podcast that we did. There's some influencers that are okay, but the majority of them are influencing totally absurd things, whether it be about nutrition, drugs. The main thing I have problem with is the gear. People that's taking, especially the guy calls himself D-Trin. 1 week he's telling people, yeah, it's fine. I took 1,000 milligrams of Trin year round. No. Now I'm taking Primo. Primo is actually stronger than Trin. And, they give such horrible advice, and you've got all these kids and they're actually listening to them. Or the Jeff Nipper guy that the Mike Van Wyck, choked and threw down or whatever. I watched some of his stuff, and the videos are awful. And I'm like, man, people listen to this. And I'll click some of the people's pictures that's asking the questions. I'm like, you look 10 times better than this dude. Why are you asking him a question?
Right.
And it's people. It's just the influencer stage I'm not a fan of. And there's I can't name any ones that I guess I consider myself an influencer now since I'm on TikTok, because I'll be at the gym or Tom Thumb, and you're like, oh man, you're my favorite influencer on TikTok. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not what I really like to hear, but I'm glad I'm inspiring you. I'm inspiring you, but it is what it is, whatever.
Yeah. Most of them are dickheads. There's the
answer.
answer.
Armon, I know you mentioned that you were friends with Amanda, who's sadly murdered by David Jacobs. Yes. Did you know David from working out at Metroflex? What the hell was wrong with him? Okay, so Amanda Savell. Do you remember that, King?
I remember
Amanda
you told me the story.
Savell. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'll go real quick. So Amanda Savell, I dated her when I was 20. She was 26. She was still legally married at the time, so I didn't feel comfortable going on with the relationship because I didn't want to get murdered. And so we became best friends. She actually got me my contract with Dymatize. I literally had my mom take pictures of me. I gave them to Amanda. She showed them to Dymatize, and Dymatize brought me on. And I loved her to death. She was great. And so she started dating this guy named David Jacobs. I competed at David Jacobs at my 4th show. It was the Red River Classic in Oklahoma. I won the light heavyweight class. He won the super heavyweight class, and I won the overall. And I remember him and Art Atwood were like best friends. And Art Atwood was so mad, like he did not even want to hand me the overall trophy. But so they were all a big clique in Dallas. They were huge steroid dealers. Amanda was, involved with him, and he was basically supporting her financially. And when I saw Amanda at an Olympia after party, I was like, Amanda, like, what are you doing with him? Like, you're better than this. You didn't used to do drugs. You're smoking cigarettes. You're doing all these hardcore recreational drugs. Like, what is going on? And then I remember at the Arnold, before the Arnold, I started getting messages on Facebook. It was from Amanda, which was to David. It was like, leave me alone, Armand. I'm in love with David. So he was messaging like all her guy friends, like crazy ass messages. And I said, listen, Amanda. So we started hanging out again about 3-4 weeks before she passed away. She was also dating like Matt Lear at the time. Matt Lear was also friends in the same circle with Branch Warren, Art Atwood, and David Jacobs. So David Jacobs, he got caught and he rolled on everybody. He went on the news, rolled on Dallas Cowboy players, Atlanta Falcons players, Dallas PD. So we were already thinking this guy is going to get a hit put out him already by one of these high-profile, football players, because a lot of them got banned from the NFL because of him. Right. And so I begged Amanda. I'm like, Amanda, and everybody was saying, Amanda, this guy is going to literally kill you. And he did. She was in the shower at his house. I guess he picked up her phone, was reading text messages, came out. He shot Amanda, and then he shot himself. Still to this day, some people think it's still a hit. They don't believe he killed him because the Dallas police were involved. It's still a really weird story. So
yeah,
who knows?
That sounds a little sketchy.
Yeah, it is sketchy. So we still don't know to this day. And there's another factors how the gun was shot and twisted and flipped and all that. So we don't know. She was a sweetheart. I helped her when she got 3rd at the Arnold, and she didn't get invited back that next year to the Arnold and figure because she was dating David Jacobs. She didn't get an invite back, and she was so devastated. But yeah, that's who David Jacob was. Yeah. Anyways, the show was great. We appreciate it. Did you ever know backstage at a show you're going to lose? Of course. King, you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really look at it as winning and losing. I always looked at it as beating myself from the time before, or just making sure everything, because you can't. I mean, listen, the perfect example is the 2005 Arnold Classic. When I got there, I remember Steve Blackman and Chad Nichols and Hadi. They came into my room and they were all like, "Oh my God!" I was peeled. My eyeballs had striations on them. I was ready, but I was like, Chad, my stomach. He goes, you're fine. You're fine. I had diarrhea for 3 days, and something was not happening right. And we tried everything to stop it. And we couldn't. I was eating charcoal. We got a guy from Japan that said, just have him chew on charcoal, whatever. And I was chewing on charcoal and gagging it down. Still didn't do nothing for me. So you have situations like that, but of course, you're competing against Ronnie and Flex and Chris. You're going to know.
Yeah. So I got a lot of questions asked on other platforms, guys. So I'll give it. Can you die from 200 milligrams of TRT a week? So a lot of these kids, they get very confused between what's TRT and what's a cycle. They don't understand the difference. I get asked all the time, like the same after this, a lot more questions that people ask. They're like, what's a good dose for a TRT cycle? And I explained to them, like, you'll tell them the same thing. TRT is not a cycle. It's you don't produce that amount of testosterone. You're replacing it. And then you got some jackass on there. He was commenting like, I'm a cardiologist and TRT kills so many people. I'm like, bro, you are not a cardiologist. I promise you. And then it's like, well, I work at MD Anderson with a lot of cardiologists. So
go back to fucking school, you dumbass.
Right. Yeah. As long as what do you tell your clients to donate blood when you need to donate blood, of course, keep track of your, RBC, hemoglobin, all that. And TRT is going to improve your life. It's not going to kill you. So.
Yeah. Look at Jeff Bezos. Look at Dana White. Look at Joe Rogan. Look at Sylvester Stallone. And the list goes on and on and on. So that's all TRT. Jeff Bezos, that's number one on the list. Look at that guy. That guy was a Wikipedia example of a dork, of a skinny, nerdy dork. Now he's got a little bit of pecs, got a little bit of arms. That's TRT. That's test. Okay, so about estrogen, this is good. I got this question a lot this week. Okay, so a lot of people now people are preaching to take no anti-estrogens at all. Like people like anti-estrogens are bad, they're horrible for you. And I did make a big mistake when I was competing for like 5 years. I was taking 1 milligram of Arimidex every single day, and I was just destroying my estrogen. So I was preventing myself from growing enough, because of course you need estrogen to grow. And Did you use a lot of AIs when you weren't competing, King? Not really.
Yeah.
No.
So I made that big mistake.
For the PCT, for the post-cycle treatment, I took 1 milligram of Arimidex every other day for 40 days, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a lot of guys now, like the Renaissance periodization guy, the guy that preaches a lot of crazy BS, that are saying new studies are saying PCTs are pointless. There's no point of doing them. You might as well just stop cold turkey. There's a lot of different studies out there now, and people are doing a lot of different things, and people are just really, really confused. And, when people ask about how they should use the anti-estrogen, it depends. If you're on TRT, you need to see how you convert. And the only way you can do that is getting blood work.
Yes. Thank you.
Blood work. You can't guess what you could get the symptoms, maybe puffy, high blood pressure, all that, but you need to test yourself. And then if you go on a cycle, whatever you're taking, whether it's, let's say, if someone's taking testosterone, but they're also taking like Mastron and Primo, that might be enough to keep their estrogen down enough where they don't need an anti. It just depends on the person, how your body utilizes it, and you got to get blood work. Don't be cheap. If you can't afford blood work, you shouldn't be taking gear. King?
Correct. There's nothing else to say about that. Get your blood work done. You can't hide from blood.
Yep. Ab shot, Hadi versus Andrew Jack. Who wins?
Ab shot? I'll give it to Hadi.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Andrew's I don't really like how he holds his hands in his ab shot, but Hadi's got those real thick, crazy abs. So I would give it to Hadi too.
Yeah.
Armon, were you salty? Ronnie Coleman didn't mention you more in victory. I don't understand what that means. Why would Ronnie Coleman mention me? I had nothing. I think you misunderstood the story. I was prepping Ronnie Coleman's clients. Why would Ronnie Coleman mention me in his victory?
I think he just didn't understand that one. It was his client, not Ronnie.
Yeah, brother. It was Ronnie Coleman's guy he was sponsoring, and Ronnie asked me to prep him. After we had that falling out, Dennis James was prepping him. Ronnie got a hold of me about 5 or 6 weeks out. He's like, hey, I know Corey did that to you. Would you prep him again? I'm like, Ronnie, brother, I'm not playing the same game again. He goes, just at least hear him out and talk to him. So I talked to him, and Corey literally begged me to prep him again. I said, bro, what you did was so wrong. Bro, I know. I'm so sorry. My manager at the time, he blamed it on his manager, which was like this old black, like old broke down pimp looking guy, which used to give this guy a bunch of bad information. And he sponsored a couple other of my friends. and he gave him some really bad information. And we were like, I think 5 weeks out from a pro show, and I forgot what pro show it was. And I'm like, bro, like, we could do what we need to do, but you're like 12 weeks out. And so the same thing happened again. He didn't have the amount of drugs he needed. He's like, can you get me this? I'm like, no, dude, I'm not fronting you anything. I'm not helping you out. We'll go in what you have. And I think he placed like sixth. And then I cut him out after that because he was just ripping everybody off.
Yeah, man. Don't give chances to people. Nope.
Does Andrew need more hamstrings or the glutes? Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Where do y'all see Beirut at the Olympia? Top 5? That's incredible. Sad he missed the O.
Yes. Top 5.
Yeah. Crazy physique. Amazing physique. You know?
Yeah. Because my whole reasoning for saying top 5 that quickly is because I don't think Martin is a better bodybuilder than Beirut. That's it.
Right.
If Martin got 4th, I would put Beirut ahead of him.
Yeah. And I think he's working with the top attorneys now to hopefully get over here this year. I hope that he can. Do you guys think liver tablets have any benefits? Putting on size, have you taken them? King?
Is he talking about the old school liver? Yeah.
So.
You know, I'm definitely old school. I love the old school stuff like that, but I think it might be a little bit too much hype on that one.
Yeah. I used to chalk down those big old horse pills, and I never noticed much from them. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. No, stick with steak.
Yep. How's the hair transplant feeling? How long till you stay out of the gym? I started seeing growth like in 3 months. They tell you to stay out of the gym about 4 to 5 weeks. So I've got a few more weeks, which is fine because I usually take a break from the gym about 1 to 2 months in the winter anyways, just because I'm, lazy and burnt out with it. How do you guys see Nick Walker's career in the future? You think he's maxed out, King?
Mass-wise, yes. Mass-wise, yes. I think he's maxed out, and I just think that he's in that really strange place that he's known for being freaky, and if he tries to come in more shapely, he's not going to do well at all. He's got to keep bringing in that freaky look. It's like Cutler. Cutler tried to come in shapely and the super condition at the Arnold one year. He looked like balls, and he admitted it. I remember I saw him at the after party. He's like, I'm never doing Cytodrin again. I'm never doing that. He goes, I'm never doing that shit again. I am coming in full. That's how I look good. I'm like, yeah, well, there you go.
I know Nick Walker put his foot in his mouth when he was saying like, hey, he's going to win the Olympia, and then he dropped out. And he lost a lot of fans doing that because you go in the comments and, they call him, Brick Walker. They have all these nicknames for him now. It really upset a lot of his fans. And these diehard Nick fans were really upset with him that, they're like, dude, I was literally going to Olympia to see you at least. I don't know what I would have done, King. I mean, if you're a few weeks out and you don't look good, what do? You still go up there for your fans? You were at that level. What would you do?
But you don't look bad at 2 weeks out. There's got to be something wrong. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I can't make sense of what you're saying to me. It doesn't make sense. You should be ready at 2 weeks out. At 2 weeks out, you're coasting in. It's details. That's what it is the last 2 weeks. Details.
Yeah. Now he's got a new coach. His coach is actually an influencer coach. He coaches all the little influencers we talk about, King, like the little twins and the little trend twins and these guys. He coaches all them. And then he has that guy, his name I think is Jared Feather, which is Mike Isratelli's protege or partner or whatever, that teaches all this extremely complicated how to train stuff. And Nick started having him train him on his legs. That's when Nick's legs downsized. So I don't know the future of Nick. We'll just have to see how he looks. I don't think he can beat Martin. Do you, King?
Martin's more complete. He's got better shape, definitely. But Martin's weaknesses are he fades. Martin always fades. He starts to spill over, as they say, and Nick is a crowd favorite. He's going to outmuscle him. I mean, it's close. It's close. You know, Nick would have to be 100%.
Yeah.
He'd have to be 100%.
Why do you think teenage bodybuilding is not popular these days? You want to go first, King?
Because of Bumstead.
Yeah.
Because of Bumstead. I mean, are you talking about a men's open bodybuilding? Because, you know, Bumstead he changed everything. He brought a lot of people into it, but the muscle look, like when I go out and I'm a looker. I look at people, I scan the audience, and I scan the people. There's no more bodybuilders out there. There used to be a lot. There's not. So, but I see a lot of people that are in shape. I see that. So maybe that's it.
Yeah, I mean, back then there was a lot more teenagers that were like hardcore teenagers. I mean, I got kicked out of school for eating in class. Like I had to go to an alternative school because I kept eating in class. Yeah, you just don't see them as much. The dream is to become the next Sam Sulek for these kids with their tripods and their broccoli hair and all that junk. But yeah, it's just a different time.
Broccoli hair, for the love of God.
Gosh, I'm ready for that to go away.
My son, I've had many conversations with him.
Dave on Heavy Muscle Radio said there's a rumor Nick never tore his hamstring. It was actually a blood clot. I wouldn't be surprised.
Wouldn't be surprised either.
No. We don't know. We just know what they tell people, and we don't know what actually happened. Nick said he tore his hamstring. Listen, if I'm competing at the Olympia and I tore my hamstring a week or so out, I would still get up on that stage. Even though if I was holding inflammation in that leg, I'd pop a couple pain pills or whatever I needed to do to get on that stage. I mean, what? Dorian got on stage with a torn, what was it, tricep or bicep?
Torn bicep.
Kevin Levrone he had a torn something too.
Torn right pec.
Yeah. He should have still got on stage. Of course, he's going to be holding inflammation in that leg. Could have been a blood clot, maybe. He's got those gnarly veins on his legs, which a lot of people are like, why doesn't he fix that? It's not so simple because they're so. I have a lot of friends that have all these lasers that fix these veins. It would take probably a year of him getting these veins operated to get out, and he wouldn't be able to train during that time. So the veins are an issue in a lot of people.
And not to sound morbid, but we have to deal with reality too. Dallas dead, Cedric dead, Sean Roden dead, and I'm telling you guys, 2025 is not going to be any better. They're gonna just prepare yourselves for more heartbreak.
These guys, I don't know when they'll learn. It's not a game, and everybody thinks like, oh, it can beat me. But these influencers that y'all are listening to, and that are calling people like King or Lee Priest liars when they tell you their cycles, they're not lying to y'all. They are genetic freaks.
I have no reason to lie. I'll tell you guys, any questions you have, I'll answer all the questions. I have no reason to lie. And I'm telling you right now that I will never touch any of that stuff again, because at this point in my life, I don't need to be 295 pounds with veins. I don't need that. I will die within a year. I'll be dead. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But you listening to these idiots and these retards. I know that's not a political thing to say, but we got Trump in the White House now. We can get away with anything.
Right. We can say some. we can start saying retards again. Old school words again.
Yeah, we can listen to these fucking retards. This is what's going to happen to you. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're killing people, and it's going to keep happening.
Yep. Absolutely, King. Is Nick Walker a problem? Did he do too many drugs? His receptors are fried. Yeah, I think so. He's burned out.
It's a god. Listen, just look at what the sport has become right now. It's become chemical warfare, and Nick is just in the process of what's happening. It's just like when Hadi came along, everyone said, "Oh shit, we got to get back our conditioning." When Ramy came, everybody said, "Oh my God, we got to get our size back on." It's just it's the evolution of what's happening. It's unfortunate, but the answer to our question is what Armon just said.
Yeah. Yeah. Answer that question. There we go. Did your parents want you to wrestle in your youth? Iran has second best in wrestling in the world. Russia. I was raised. My dad was from Iran and my mom was American. Okay, so I was pretty much Americanized, So my dad was into soccer. I was on my way to turn professional soccer. My brother played professional soccer. My uncle played professional soccer for the Iranian national team. Yeah, wrestling huge as Iran. King could probably get a better on that.
No, they were completely against it. I had to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer.
Yep.
It's typical like that. I just went to my own thing. In high school, I did gymnastics. I was the captain of my gymnastics. I was MVP. I was one of the best vaulters and the best in the rings in the state. But my passion was bodybuilding. And the reason why I did gymnastics, the funniest reason, and the truth is, I saw gymnasts being muscular, and I'm like, hey, I think this is a great way to get muscular. And it was.
Yeah.
All those fucking power movements and holding and iron crosses, it put this. I mean, I got lats when nobody had lats. My nickname in high school, they used to call me Cobra because I had lats.
I had zero lats. I never had lats, and that was my always problem competing. So I should have probably done that. Bodybuilding and having Iranian parents and me having Iranian dad. I mean, you look at people like Hunter Labrada when his dad is like, I mean, a lot of people envy him because you're the son of Lee Labrada. How can you not be a good bodybuilder if you want to go that direction? And so having, I was, it was a bummer when, my dad, he would go to a show and I won my first show. He didn't say, good job, son. I won my second show. After my third show, I guess, in front of my mom, he's like, well, I guess you're good at this bodybuilding thing. And then he would be like, Armon, why are you putting all this supplements in your body? Your kidneys, all this meat you're eating, it's going to cause your kidney failure. You're stinking up the house with all this fish. I mean, I got shit 24/7, and it sucks that I didn't have support from my dad. And it, that's just the culture, and he didn't understand it.
Yeah, went through the same thing, brother. Went through the same exact thing. Nothing different.
Can the IFBB somehow regulate chemical warfare? No. I can't do anything about that.
No. Quick answer to that one. No.
Yep. Best way to grow lagging chest and shoulders, your opinion. You want to go first, King?
Go back to basics. Okay. Stop showing off. Stop playing Superman in the gym, trying to lift heavy weights. Go back to basics. Go down really, really slow, come all the way, touch the chest, and then back up and squeeze. And get that mind-muscle connection. And for shoulders, we've already discussed this a long time ago, and I'll say it again. It's forget about heavy weights. Pour as much blood into those shoulders. Drop sets, supersets, giant sets. Just get blood in there. That's how you build shoulders.
I see a lot of people now, they train chest and shoulders together too. And if you have a weak body part like chest and shoulders, you're going to neglect one of those. So I probably wouldn't train those together. And then I remember I had a few clients come over to my house. I've got like weights here that goes up to like 50. And then I said, we're training shoulders today. He's like, we're not going to the gym. I'm like, and I think at that time I only had a pair of like 20-pound dumbbells at the house. I'm like, we're going to train. He's like, what are these going to do? I'm like, trust me. And then after like 5 minutes, it's like, oh, dude, I can't lift my arm anymore. So just like King said, you got, shoulders are one of these things that you don't go load the plate with like, bar with like 4 plates to get injured, especially like side laterals, supersets, trisets, drop sets, all that kind of stuff is going to, get your muscles.
Correct.
Growing. Yes. Using good form. Do your parents hate the government of Iran? In the 70s, Iran was extremely westernized. Want to answer that?
What kind of question is that? Of course, man. That's the motherland. And listen if you want to figure out, if you want to see the truth, if you want a little bit of reality, go YouTube what Marco Rubio just said in a Senate hearing about Iran. Go listen to what he said. It's 100,000% on the money what he said. And basically, to make it long story short of what he said, but I still want you to go see it, is what he said was the government has nothing to do with the people of Iran. It's two completely different entities. The people they're the exact opposite of the government. And he's exactly right.
Yeah, and like I've talked about it before, my aunt got shot in the head by the government. My uncle got tied down and tortured. His feet got burned. So yeah, I mean, these people they don't want to live this certain life. They're, but the extreme Islamic
Iranians
is,
are different, Armon. I don't think a lot of
yeah,
people understand that the Persians are different from the Arabs. Okay, I'm not
yeah,
trying to
very different.
I'm not trying to degrade the Arabs. What I'm trying to say, even Charlie Kirk, that's another one. Go to YouTube and YouTube Charlie Kirk in Iran. He hates immigrants. He's one of those right-wing, psychotic, get the fuck out of my country type of guys. But he was confronted with an Iranian one time, and he came out and said the same thing Marco Rubio said. He said, "You Iranians are the smartest, the hardest working, the most successful immigrants that ever came into the United States," and he's right.
Yeah, yeah. Iranians and Arabs are very different. I mean, we've got a lot of Arabs where I live now. It's a bunch of Arabs have moved over here, and a lot of people think we're all the same. We're not. It's different. We're different.
Two different
So,
cultures.
yep. What else, King? Anything else?
No, man. No, we all good. Just can't wait for this goddamn cold Arctic air to finish. It's terrible on the joints. I hate it. My knees, my elbows, my wrists, everything is like enough. So I'm looking forward to spring. I'm looking forward to the Arnold Classic. Are you gonna go, by the way?
Man, I'm not going to the Arnold. I have this guy. He's a fan. He wants to bring me out there and pay me and all that to go. But I never enjoyed going to the Arnold. Are you going?
No, no, no. My
Yeah,
daughter, I was with her today before I had the podcast, and she's like, I want to go
me
to the
too.
Olympia this year. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, take me to the Olympia. I want to go to the Olympia. It's in Vegas, right? I'm like, yeah. She goes, it's right around my birthday, right? I'm like, yeah. She goes, I want to go. So that sounds very interesting. Taking my daughter to the Olympia, and plus, I haven't seen any of my boys. I haven't seen you. I haven't seen Dex. I haven't seen Chris. I haven't seen Melvin. So I missed the guys.
Yeah, I might go too. It's crazy, King, because I know I've been. I think I forget what my last Olympia was, but walking through the Expo, and you remember the old days, you at the booth of Muscle Tech and all the long lines and all that. All you see is influencers now, and it's crazy. These long lines for these influencers and these guys doing pranks everywhere. It's such a different world. You used to go to the expos and used to get bags and bags and bags of free shirts and big tubs. It's not like that anymore. It's very different, guys. And if you didn't get to experience the expos back in the day, you missed out a lot because that was a really cool time. And
Oh yeah.
now most of the booths are influencers. King, you wouldn't know who any of these people are. You'd be like, who are these guys? So yeah, if we go to Olympia, we'll definitely hang out and figure something out. But yeah,
One of my best experiences of ever at one of those at the Arnold, it was at the Olympia, is I was at the Muscle Tech booth and somebody came over and I had a big line and they were like, Batista's over there. And I was like, where? He goes, at that booth over there. I'm like, all right. So I said, time out, everybody. I walked over there. Once I saw him and he saw me, bro, our line got down the street and back. And Dave's like, you fucking asshole. I don't want to stay here all night. I'm like, sorry, bud. So we took pictures for about 2 hours with people. That's the kind of shit that I miss, man. That
you
stuff.
got to. Now you got Nick Walker saying, "Yeah, I can't work the booth. It's going to mess up my dial-in."
Unfucking believable.
Crazy. Remember Armon seeing you at the Red River Classic around 2003? I was 14. Crazy. Yeah, the Red River Classic was a really cool show. I know you got your friend Scott that lives in Oklahoma, King, right?
Yeah.
That was a really cool show. A lot of our Texas people would do the Red River Classic because they just treated the athletes really well, and it was a really good show. I grew up a communist country, and we were persecuted. Grateful we were able to come legally to the U.S. Yeah, Iran has a lot of immigrants. They take a lot of refugees from other countries. I don't know. I'm not into all this political talk. Are you, King?
No.
Yeah, I'm not either. All right, guys, that's all. That's all the questions we got for today. Anything else?
No, bro. Nope, nope. But I did mean what I said at the very beginning. We'll talk. We're gonna get together. We'll talk. The only question I have for you is, who is the chairman for Texas? Is it still that black guy? What's his
John
name?
Sherman?
No. Who was the other one? The one that with the goofy glasses and he had a weird name. I thought he was the chairman for Texas.
Okay, so it was Lee Thompson, and then it was Ed and Betty, and Ed and Betty stepped down, and then it was John Sherman, and then, bro, I don't even know right now. Things changed so much.
Yeah. I know that Ed and Betty are doing their own thing now. That's another subject. But find out who the chairman is for Texas. For New York, it's easy. It's Weinberger. We know that.
Yeah.
And I'd be really interested to do something. King and Armon Muscle Classic or something like that.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome. Put a little change in our pockets too.
Texas is huge for shows. There's so many shows here and they're put together really well. And I think we could, putting a show on is hard. You've seen what goes on behind the scenes.
Bro, I did it once. I know how hard it is. But then again, you also have if you're doing an NPC show, this is something that a lot of people don't know. You're paying NPC the sanction. They got to help you. They'll send the judges. They'll send the backstage people. They'll send the stage. They'll do a whole thing for you. And then I took it to the next level. Nobody does what I did. That's why I only did the King Kamali Classic once. I brought Chick. I brought Batista. I brought Dan Severin. I brought Monica Brandt. I did a whole thing. I brought Jan Tanner to put on a show. A lot of the the NPC guys didn't like that. They're like, King, what are you trying to show us up? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to put on a good show.
Yeah.
I had put 2 people on the side of the judges, 2 girls. Anything. I said, whatever they need, you guys are in charge. And then of course, they love that. You need a drink, they'll get them a drink. You need something to eat, they'll get them something to eat, this and that. But they still pushed me and they said, it was too much. I also handed out 4-foot trophies too. Big ass fucking trophies, not these little fucking, no. So we'll discuss it.
Medals. Yeah, absolutely. All right, brother. What do you got going for the rest of the day?
I got to go pick up my son, take him out to dinner, and then I'm going to go smoke some cigars and head on home.
Cool. I'll be at home still healing from this hair transplant and just hanging out. All right, brother. Have a great day, King.
Yep, you too, man.
Peace, guys.
Peace, everybody.
See you guys next week.
Yep.